We're learning Peirush Halacha Chametz U'Matzah. Rambam says you don't have to be fearful. Maybe shemagir or chulda, that's the type of rodent took chametz l'mokem she'machnisam by chametz, to a place where you do not bring in chametz. In the Peirush, we're going to discuss whether a rodent we have to worry about it, and what happens if you left chametz and you don't find it afterwards when you return. You left it in a specific place for the morrow or to be burnt. You don't find it. So the Rambam says you don't worry whether a rodent took it to a place where you don't have to search because you don't bring in chometz. If we're going to fear that, then we have to be bias labayas from one house where you do have chometz usually, and labayas to a different house. Nochash, and we have to be fearful here. We'd have to be fearful from one city to the other. Maybe they brought from a different city. So the Magen Mishnah cites Psochim Tes, Amid Aleph. You don't fear that rodent took it from one place to the other, because if that's the case, and he cites the whole Mishnah, and the Rambam explains the Bayis Labayis, meaning from a house that a person has where he eats chometz in, and another house which he doesn't. Rashi explains that you don't fear means that if he checked in one part of the house, he doesn't have to worry that it took it to another part of the house, because that place where you checked is already checked. And the Magen Mishnah says that the Peirush of the Rambam is the correct one. The Kezer Mishnah argues that the Rambam also agrees with Rashi that in the same house you don't have to worry about the rodent taking it from place to place. And the Kezer Mishnah says this actually is more applicable, understandable in the Mishnah, because the proof of the Mishnah is if we're going to start worrying about things like this, then from a chotzer that is boduk tzayna chotzer she'ena boduk, from one that was checked to one that wasn't checked, or from one city to city, it would seem to imply you don't have to worry at all about such an occurrence. But according to the Rambam, that the Mishnah is only talking about from one house to the other house, within the house, it would seem that it's hard to explain that the Rambam means that in the same house you do have to worry about it, because it's more likely. Because one time a rodent will take it from a place that is not usually used for chometz. However, after one's checked his house, it could be that a rodent will come and move it from place to place. As we will see in the next law of if you left chometz, what do you do if you don't find it? But la halacha, there's no difference between the Rambam and the Rashi, and we don't worry lest he took it from one place to the other. Even from a place that customarily has chometz to a place that doesn't have chometz. The Lecha Mishnah explains that the Magen Mishnah understood the Rambam in Choishishin Shemagir Chuldo is referring to the Mishnah that precedes it. Mokem Shem Achlitzim B'Chometz Ein Tzorach B'Dika. That a place that you don't bring in chometz, you don't have to check it. Therefore, the Mishnah continues that you don't worry about a chulda taking it from one place that was checked, that you don't bring in chometz to a place that you do bring in chometz, and not necessarily whether it was checked or not. And the Lecha Mishnah adds that according to the Rambam, the Tana is letting us know something, that you do not fear lest the rodent took it from place to place, from a place that you do bring chometz to a place that you don't bring chometz. But according to Rashi, it seems less of a chidush to say that in the place that you already checked, in that place you should have to keep on checking, because maybe after you did it, the rodent came back and pulled some chometz into that area. Therefore, the Lecha Mishnah also feels that the Peirush of the Rambam is the correct one. What happens if he left chometz in his house and then he doesn't find it? So the Rambam continues, if somebody checked on the night of the 14th, and he left 10 challahs, meaning to eat them on the morrow. Or today we leave 10 pieces for burning in the morning. Or Mosdos, and he finds only 9. Then we have to be fearful that somehow it was taken. It may by a rodent perhaps and placed elsewhere. Then he has to check the whole house again because he knows there's a piece that's someplace present. Certainly, this chulda or mouse moved it. Certainly moved it. And although at the beginning of the halacha he says you don't worry about it taking from place to place, that's when you don't have a suspicion to think so. But if one is missing, then possibly it was removed by a rodent or a mouse. The Magen Mishnah cites the source of this is Psachim Tesam and Beis, the Mishnah, the Gemara, and Yudam and Beis, that he should place it in a careful place, whatever he leaves over, that you won't have to check again. And Mori explains that this is Gzeira. We're afraid lest he leave 10 challahs and he'll find 9, and therefore we would have to worry about Choshen Lechulda, like in the Gemara. Mi'ez Hashem, next year we'll learn Halacha Ches.